Dear friends, today is a big day because behind me there is the Stabnet. It's been 2 years that I've been bothering you with the ads I put at the beginning of the videos that talk about Ukraine, but this is concrete, 21,000 euros of my turnover that I've given back to finance half of this Stabnet. The Stabnet. It's the most effective way to really save lives here in Ukraine. It's the most efficient system for that. It was set up by a Frenchman named Damien. We're going to visit that with him in the factory in Kharkiv, but also on the front line. I went to visit the equipment that is directly deployed in the 3rd Assault Brigade. We were a few kilometers from the Russians. The Stabnet, it's the most effective way, dear friends. You won't often see me with a bulletproof vest, but today I am on line 1, that is to say the medical stabilization extraction point of the 3rd Assault Brigade.
We came to see what we call the Stabnets. We came to see how the forces here work for medical aid.
We are with Damien, who is in charge of this project, so we won't take the time to make the video here. We will explain the concept at the factory. We are with Damien. Hello, Damien. Hello, Xavier. We are currently in a Stabnet. What is a Stabnet? It's a medical stabilization center, I said correctly. That's right, mobile, completely mobile and completely autonomous. So around us there is a lot of equipment. Why are we here? First, the first element is that you have contributed to buying one that has already saved, without exaggeration, dozens of lives thanks to the colleagues we have been able to achieve. Thank you again. We will show you what it looks like and explain why we need you later. We see that there is still a surgical table in the middle, but there are plenty of other equipment around. Do you want to give us a tour, owner?
So, absolutely. First of all, it's a container that is completely self-sufficient in electricity and water. We can have an external connection, but it's autonomous because it has a generator inverter. It is self-sufficient in water.
Incidentally, if you don't have running water near your home, look at what they've integrated. There's a pump, that is, you have the little balloon that's there. It allows you to stay on the surface of the river. The water is taken from the river, goes through wires and cleaning systems. The pump allows for refilling. Running water is preferred. The entire Stabnet can be connected to the city's power and water supply. But if necessary, we have ways to compensate for the absence of normal networks.
You have on the ground, we don't see it, but a reservoir for wastewater with a heater for the winter so it doesn't freeze. You have a diesel heater and you have air conditioning because in Donbass and Ukraine in summer it gets very, very hot. It goes from -25 to +40. That's it. That's hard continental climate, you know.
On the medical equipment itself, you have 2 compression freezers for the storage and transport of blood and plasma. You have here a hot air sterilizer to sterilize surgical instruments. Right here you have 2 foldable stretchers. You have the operating table, which is quite light. We have to be limited in weight, so it's a table that can't exceed 220 pounds. You will always notice in surgery tables in general, there is always a kind of special lamp that prevents having shadows. Check out the ceiling. They're really smart.
Above us, they have installed a system that allows for perfect lighting without taking up a lot of space.
Little anecdote number 2. This is a UV lamp. Between 2 operations, it lights up for half an hour, killing all the bacteria and germs. It's a time saver and helps prevent hospital-acquired infections. I cut you off.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. Then, regarding the medical devices themselves, we have everything needed to stabilize the vital functions of an injured person, and a heavily injured person at that. So anything like shrapnel wounds, limb amputations, etc., we can save lives here. We have a multi-parameter cardiac monitor with all the parameters on the oxygen level, the CO2 level in the blood. We have a respirator, which works with an oxygen concentrator, because obviously on the front we don't use oxygen bottles, oxygen being a very explosive gas. It's very dangerous. This device allows us to produce oxygen. We then have a mucus aspirator for surgical operations, an electrocoagulator. Without going into details, it's a very efficient, very powerful infrared scalpel to cauterize wounds to perform surgery. It's not here because it's in Kiev and we are in the Kharkiv sector, but we have a miniaturized butterfly ultrasound, which is very practical, coupled with a tablet to detect hemorrhages.
It's an internal scanner that sees in depth. We choose the depth to see if it's flesh or bones, etc., that are going to be cut. Exactly.
I'll finish the equipment for you because one of the really essential challenges is blood transfusion. We saw earlier for storing and preserving blood. Here you have a blood warmer since it needs to be warmed, and here you have an infusion pump to put our injured under anesthesia.
In France, if you just buy an empty ambulance, I think it would cost you around 40,000 euros roughly. Yes, a resuscitation ambulance. Here, the entire Stabnet, with all the equipment you just presented, is also less than 40,000 euros.
It's immensely important.
Up to 12 people a day go through the Stabnet you provided, which is named
Adrian, one of the first Frenchmen to give his life here for Ukraine. Absolutely, and so in his honor the Stabnet bears his name. And today the Adrian Stabnet saves lives. That container there.
He is really on the front line for you. It's a project, to give you an idea, crazy because we are the closest containers. They are 2.49 miles, 3.1 miles from ground zero. So with all the issues on drones, on artillery that it poses is really, it allows to reduce the response time, you know. There is a protocol called Golden Hour. It's a North Atlantic Treaty Organization protocol that says you have 90% more losses if you don't stabilize a wounded person within an hour. And unfortunately in Ukraine, very often the stabilization comes after 2, 3, 4 hours. It's way too long. There are quite few stabilization points. They are very distant. The roads are very bad. So if we manage to multiply these mobile stable points on the front line, we will reduce the time to up to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is almost, you see. The emergency time in Paris, or if you fall down a staircase, you see, so it's a pretty crazy project, but it's really an incredible challenge in Ukraine. We could really reduce the mortality rate in all sectors.
Around the front line. Then I think there will be feedback to give for other countries as well, because to believe that we can evacuate by helicopter in a high-intensity war, we have to forget this concept. It's not a good idea, let's be clear. Look, go see the specifics. If you, on your side, you have patrons who want to participate, put them in contact, go then friends, today. This net stage, Napoleon, is provided to the Alpha Ends, which is the ultimate elite team. With full, I will send you to another video in which you have French-speaking legionnaires who are inside, and that's also why we support them, but you can also finance this net stage. The future stage is that will be financed. I put a link to a collection that is organized with Act Together for Ukraine, which is an association. Every euro you give, it's in the general interest. So there are tax reductions, and if you give enough, you get nice patches like this one. So he has different patches. You will see depending on the amount of your donation. But overall, know that every euro counts. There is zero profit made, zero operating costs. It's produced here, directly in Ukraine, with an organization that is absolutely optimal. There you can be convinced that you are saving lives. Here are the prices for the various equipment inside. That way you know what each amount corresponds to. Thank you for your loyalty and support. We will continue saving lives, and I'll see you soon.